Taurus rising. How you doing, Taurus? This is your reading for the Taurus full moon that's happening either on the 15th or the 16th of November, depending on where you live. This is quite a wild full moon, Taurus. It's conjunct Uranus. This is pretty wild, and I'm going to be pulling some cards. On this full moon, what's being released, what's being integrated, and then what's being activated, because I see lunations so I see full moons as download points, right? Yes, it's a big completion. Yes, it's an ending of something. But with that, we've learned so much. And then that brings in an activation that you're then working with over the next 6 months that will take you up to the Taurus new moon next year in your season, Taurus. Itinima itufala madini ma utufala ishini itufala nima itu elama itinima. Sorry, I've forgotten how many cards I was doing for each pile. So, by the way, hi, my name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and you just heard some vocal light language come through. There will be some physical movements, there they are, come through, and it's channeling multi-dimensional energies, right? And this brings in healing, attunement, and activation codes, and will be happening throughout the reading. Speaking of the reading, hello, Taurus. I read for the rising signs. So for those of you who don't have Taurus in the first house, and you know your natal chart, look to what house it does fall in. Look to the themes of that house, and you want to apply those themes to the messages that come through in this reading. It will be as if that Taurus energy, wherever it falls in the natal chart, for example, mine's in the 10th, will have energetically moved to the first house. So the astrology for the rising sign will still link in. You just got to add on your own natal chart meaning on top of it, right? And it will be as if that Taurus energy has, I've already said that, energetically moved to the first house. So I'm going to be reading for the rising signs, and obviously that's happening. This big full moon, this big completion is happening in the house of self. This is how you embody your sun or your moon in your actions and your deeds. It all depends if you've got a day or a night chart, which luminary is providing the wisdom of where you're headed to your ascendant, who is your navigator through these cosmic waters. It's the lens in which you move through the world, right? That embodiment, those actions. It's often how other people see you, because they are more likely to see that than what be going on behind the scenes. This is also, as I said, your sense of self, your body, your character. You've got full moon here. So what I can see happening with this let me really double confirm what these. I'm a bit all over the place this morning. I do apologize, Taurus. The moon just moved into Aries. There's a need for all the impulses to come out. And it's currently trining Mars. Over in the sign of Leo. So I'm feeling a lot of energy that's sort of blocking the thought processes. So 2 cards for what is being released, what's being completed. And this is more of the shadow work of perhaps the trials and tribulations that you may have had over the last 6 months, right? So often that is the way with the universe, that it is all the things that are going on. They're all part of the alignment, and we can have some wonderful times, but we can also be, okay, I need to focus on this for a bit. So this is what's coming to an end. This is what's being completed with this particular cycle. Second pile is what is being completed in terms of like the integrated work that you've been doing. And then third pile is what's being activated. So what download are we receiving at the time of the full moon? And then the fourth pile is going to be how to work with it. I'm also going to be pulling 2 oracle cards at the end. So big full moon in your first house. This can be a releasing around certain understandings of self, certain awarenesses of self, ideas, how you move through the world. How many have we got there? How you embody yourself, right? So releasing perhaps some distortions, some limiting beliefs around the way that you perceive yourself, around the way that you take action, as well as activating our deeper knowledge of self. And this is all in regards to the other as well, because the sun is over in Scorpio, which is in the house of the other, right? And this is the one-on-one important relationships in your life, right? Or just how you operate on a one-to-one basis. How do you perceive yourself in regards to the other? How do you interact with the other? Where is there a healthy balance between self and other? So the sun being there often shines a light on the work that you've been doing with the full moon. So this can be important people in your life. That can be business partners, clients, really near and dear friends, as well as long-term romantic relationships and your relationship with source. Often where the sun is, it's where the light is, it's where the vision is. And with a full moon in the first house, this can see people in your life or energies in your life letting you know how much they see you, how much they enjoy you, how much they see the journey that you've been on and the things that you've done and how you've leveled up, right? So we often get clues from the 7th in regards to where we're at with the first. As I said, I can see a completion and a deeper understanding of self and how you move through the world, right? And how you embody that, right? More walking your talk. As I said at the beginning, this moon is conjunct Uranus. Now, I've done a collective reading for this moon. This is where I've broken down the astrology in way more detail. And this moon's quite wild. The conjunction with Uranus, Saturn is going direct a couple of hours before this moon. We have Venus, the ruler of this moon, squaring the nodes, and Mars, who's ruling the sun, traditionally rules Scorpio, is trining and sextiling the nodes. So there's something really in alignment around the bigger picture, around the longer term cycles linked into the nodes, where the eclipses are, and eclipses are quite big deals. The Uranus energy is very sudden liberation, right? It can be sudden perception. There's a lot of sword cards that came through in the collective reading. If you want a deeper understanding of what's going on here, I do recommend pausing this, go watch that video. As I said, I break down the astrology in more detail of how this energy, how the planets, the celestial bodies are talking to each other, which then forms an energy frequency, which is then imprinted into the Taurus area of our chart for the next 6 months. Especially around the themes of the moon, which is your emotional body, your intuition. How are your needs being met or not being met? And how do you give and receive nourishment? So for you, this is in the first house, right? Are your needs being met around how you're seen, how you perceive yourself? Are you able to nourish yourself? This can be an elevation of the way that you in fact nourish those around you. And Uranus is the path clearer, the breaker of chains. But it is sudden things. It can be like sudden liberation, sudden eureka moments that you have, the sudden awareness of who are you, Taurus. Uranus has been in your first house for a long time. You've been going through a real shift of self, right? I find Uranus is very sudden and can be very catastrophic in its nature when we are not tending to our soul's needs, where we are not stepping up to the frequency that we signed up for, right? Sometimes we can get very stuck in certain dynamics. It happened to me, as I said, Taurus in the 10th. My whole life blew up when Uranus moved into Taurus, right? My career, my love, my home, everything blew up because it needed to. Because I wasn't happy. I was deeply unhappy. And Uranus came and set me free. So there's this element of this. And Uranus and the moon are conjunct a fixed star called Algol. Now, I bring up a political thing in the collective reading. I'm not going to talk about it here, but it was to do with a certain political leader having a little scratch on their ear, right? And that was the same degree as what's happening here with the fixed star, because that fixed star is linked into Medusa and therefore kind of like losing your head. And this very much is about collectively about perspectives that have blocked our capacity to be embodied in a very personal level on the planet, right? Taurus, the first earth sign, ruled by Venus. She wants us to connect. She wants us to feel good in the 3D world, to have a deeper sense of value and love of our 3D experience, right? So any blockages around that have blocked our soul's path, blocked our embodiment, our physical senses, feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling abundant, feeling creative. Uranus, Algol, and the moon are going to be helping release a lot of that. As I said, a lot of swords showed up in the collective tarot reading. And so there's a real sense of around how we perceive, how we share information, and how we understand things, right? And also limiting beliefs that are, almost spells around us. So you have this in the first. So as I said, a release of like blocked paradigms around your sense of self, right? An expansion into your soul's path and into your embodiment of it. And it is going to have a tie-in. And this does tie in with the sun being over in Scorpio, which, as I said, is the other. Now, this can be Source, your relationship with Source, as well as just more recognition by the people in your life. Maybe clearing out some blockages around how you are perceived, not necessarily by yourself, but by the external world, that may have certainly hindered a real sense of co-creation with the other. Now, the moon and Uranus are making a trine to Pluto and the asteroid Ceres, which is all about the harvest. It's about abundance. It's about nurturing and nourishment and nutrition and nutrients. With Pluto over in... This is all over in your 9th house of your perspectives, right? So there's a final little push. Pluto's going to leave on the 19th of November into the sign of Aquarius, into your 10th house. And it's in your sign of your perspectives along with Ceres. So there's a real bounty of transformation and getting connected to your rooted power around with this combination of energy. And that's all making a very harmonious aspect to your first house of how you perceive yourself and how you walk through the world, right? So there's a real combination of an elevation of your power on this planet that is activating a higher level of abundance. Now, Venus rules this moon, and Venus is over in the sign of Capricorn as well. So she's doubling down on the sense of longevity. Like Capricorn is the collective earth sign. It's the mountain goat. It's the desire to build for the long term, to do the damn thing, and not necessarily be immediate in the impulse. It's a sense of putting in that hard work and really establishing a very grounded, deep-rooted mountain energy within you. And Venus being there, love Venus in Capricorn, work hard, play hard. Venus through the 9th, love that. Very much a heightened connection to your perspectives and elevation of them, a deeper sense of love and value, getting creative, finding more harmony with all of that, and just feeling good about how you move through the world and how you look at the world and the universe. And Venus is squaring the nodes in Aries and Libra. Now, Aries is in your 12th house, your hidden house, your house of mysteries, right? This is the unconscious spaces. You've had the North Node there. You've been striving to work through perhaps anxiety, depression, grief, loss, getting a firmer grip on those unconscious spaces where our trauma responses and our limiting beliefs can lie. But also the magic of your soul. That Aries energy is your powerhouse, right? Of tapping into that independence, of striving into new territory. And the Libra energy is in your 6th house of work, how you figure things out. It's about co-workers and therefore co-creation, collaboration, pets, acts of service, caretaking. So the South Node has been releasing ways that don't serve you in the way that you work, dynamics with others. And really refining your understanding of how you put things together, right? And so all of this is combining with that Venus energy, and obviously Venus rules the moon. The moon is exalted in Taurus. It's its favorite place to be, favorite sign to be, because it's not worrying so much. It's being supported by Venus in her prime of like, hey, what do you need? What do you want? How are you feeling? Let me love you. Let me hold you. Let me bring you joy into your life. That's the Venus energy with the moon. And she's doing that from Capricorn with a square to the nodes, which is building, right? Building with everything that you've been working on with the Aries Libra axis into your perspectives, right? And creating a firmer foundation for you to then embody that with this moon. Now, Venus is in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Saturn is in Pisces, has now gone direct. Oh, that was it. I was going to pull a card. Let me do that now. I was going to pull one card for the Uranian energy, like specify what that energy is. Uranus, the moon, and Algol. We want to get one card on that of what is the the highest intention of what that activation is going to be. And I'm going to pull one card on Saturn going direct for you in the sign of Pisces, which is your 11th house of hopes and dreams, friends, groups and alliances, and reaping the benefits from your 10th house. And so Saturn going direct, everything that you've been working on with that retrograde, the inner recalibration around your own authority, your own integrity, your commitment in regards to how you work with groups, how you tend to your hopes and dreams, and how you perceive the resources that you gain from your 10th house. Saturn is a very mature planet, right? It's able to really keep going, hold the line, and keep doing the damn thing. So now it's going direct. We're going to see more action after the last however many months, can't quite remember when it went retrograde, where we've been cultivating, right? We've been bringing depth and nuance to that Saturnian energy, and is now going direct. So, and now Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is over in the sign of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury's over in Sagittarius, and that is a Jupiter sign. So even though this is a Venus moon, and for half of the planet, I think probably till about potentially Eastern Europe, it's all on a Friday, which is a Venus day. The other half of the planet, it's on Saturday, which is Saturn's day. So there's this combination between Venus and Saturn around mature understandings of connection, of relationships, of love, of value, of creativity. And it's like, and I love that combination of the Piscean Saturn, right? Of magic is real and how to work with it. And then Venus of like, I'm going to ground this energy into the long term. But they're all being ruled by Mercury and Jupiter because they're in each other's signs, and this is what's called mutual reception. So they're basically on psychic hotline with each other. They're facilitating each other's journeys through their realms, and so this is all influencing this moon of self, and that is in your second house, Gemini, of your values, how you value yourself, your skills and tools in order to bring in regular income and manifest and the things that you value, right? As long as we value ourselves truly, madly, deeply, then we don't value things that distort our own value, and that's Jupiter's doing you a solid there. You might find yourself spending a bit more money than usual. That's just one side of the Jupiter in Gemini transit series. I've done a transit series on this. You're not going to have it for another 12 years. I do still really recommend that transit series. All the planets have their own playlist. Mercury over in Sagittarius is your 8th house of relationship dynamics, the outside world's resources and how to work with them, right? And so we can have scarcity complexes, fear mindsets, codependency around this. And we can have just, as the distortion of relationship dynamics. Now, what I love about this is with the sun being in the 7th house, this can see you really elevating a kind of either working friendship or love relationships, spiritual relationships that you have in your life, healthier relationship dynamics, because that Jupiter energy is helping give you a stronger sense of value, which is then influencing a real deepening of the true sense of self. What else do I want to say? I'm trying to keep this super short. I could go on for hours and hours and hours. Mars is ruling the sun. And the sun is in Scorpio, which is traditionally ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Leo. So they are also in mutual reception. So we have this really lovely combination between Mars and the sun, Mercury and Jupiter, right? Perception over wisdom, over abundance, Mars and the sun, vision, clarity of action. And you have Leo in the 4th. So there's something around you establishing, Okay. Hello, Uranus. You are establishing more motivation and drive and action in your home, right? Your foundational space, the fourth house, in regards to a deepening of how have I been influenced by the other in the way that doesn't serve my foundational motivation? How am I being interacting with the other that is elevating my desire to get on and do the things? This could be about working from home with clients, or just having more motivation and drive to establish a stronger foundation, which is meaning you're not getting knocked off your perch by the other in the same way, and you're actually really working towards collaboration from the heart. One more card for the Saturn aspect. The other thing that I would recommend is the Pluto in Capricorn oracle reading. Now, even though Pluto is going to leave into the sign of Aquarius on the 19th, what Pluto's doing at the time of this moon is making aspects to Neptune and Uranus, and therefore the moon. And the moon is making aspects to Pluto and Neptune. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. It's all in that oracle reading, because Pluto, Neptune, Uranus are all making harmonious aspects to one another in yin signs. And they are going to move into yang signs together along with Saturn, right? And so this is a really big archetypal shift of our consciousness that's going on here. We're living in quite a wild astrological time in this regard. And so what came through in that oracle reading very much applies to what's going on with the astrology now. Right, and what was the bottom of the deck? Two bottoms of the deck. One final card from Rainbow Brainskull. All the oracle decks, all the decks are in the description box, by the way. So, let's get on with it. We have, for what are we releasing with this full moon? What is coming to an end in terms of perhaps the more shadow work that we've been doing? So this was the first card out. The Tower and the Five of Swords. So this is really, this is a Mars card, but I very much see it as Uranus, because it's just knocking down the stuff that doesn't serve you, right? Your foundations are still strong. You're then getting back into alignment. So there's something around that Uranian energy that with this full moon over the last 6 months, you have been pulling down structures within yourself. There may have been situations externally that have also helped facilitate this, that have just pulled down the things that aren't serving you anymore, right? So this is what's coming to an end, this particular part of the cycle, right? Where this does feel a bit dramatic, right? But it is the house of self, so it can very much be about how you're perceiving things, how you're embodying things, and lots of changes and kind of eureka moments. And it's leading to a lack of conflict, a lack of domination. This is the bully victim cycle. It's in reverse. For me, it's the most difficult card in tarot, right? There's a real sense of winning, but what are you winning? What cost are you winning? The figure is winning the Three of Swords. So coming in reverse, what's happened here is helped get out of conflict, right? Of a sense of hierarchical systems. This can be in your mind as well, like the bully in your mind, as well as this. Perhaps there's just been an energy that's been released that used to just bring about low-level conflict around you, like it didn't matter what you did or the actions that you took, that it would lead to some kind of conflict, whether that is it coming towards you and falling into a state of victimhood, or through your actions doing that to other people, or even to yourself. But this is what's closing out, right, in terms of this moon. And then this is what's the integrated activation that we have for this full moon. And we have the Strength card and the King of Swords. This is Leo and Aquarius. And so there's a real sense sense of a deepening of your internal foundational power, Leo in the 4th house, through love and kindness. So rather than the fight to the end, the domination and the subjugation, these two figures are being very vulnerable with one another, but they are not they're not trying to take advantage of it. They're not trying to get one up on each other. They're working together through love and kindness. And through that process, we then get a generator, an infinite generator that helps us with the heart. So there's a real sense of being very compassionate, very kind to yourself, very loving, very courageous in your capacity to be vulnerable. And that leading to a real strengthening of your vision and your life path, right? You have Aquarius in the 10th, which is about your life path. And the King of Swords, you see there are butterflies behind the throne. There is a sense of transformation here, right? Of emerging of the new self with new clarity and being able to act on that with a deep sense of maturity. Now, what is the download? What is being activated with this full moon? We have another 5, also in reverse, the 5 of Wands and the Fool. So this is... 5 of Wands, unlike the kind of heavy conflict of the 5 of Swords, the 5 of Wands, I'm getting some tickles in the throat. This often happens when I'm sitting at this desk, never really in person, because obviously collective throat chakra work. Taurus, you rule the throat. So many swords came out. This moon is actually being ruled by Mercury and Jupiter, right? Which is about wisdom and perception. And with that sun still in Scorpio, there's really a sense of healthy, deep visions, looking in the dark, being able to have those healthy conversations, not only with others, but with yourself. So, and I feel like there's going to be a release with this full moon that is allowing a stronger connection from your lower chakras and especially your heart chakra to the head, to the mind and the crown and the third eye to come down into the body. Like the throat is the bridge. The throat is the tip of the pyramid. That algol Uranus conjunction with the moon is helping clear out blockages around communication, perhaps, as I say, things that you've taken on board from other people, things that you've taken on board from yourself, ancestors, that have stopped you from really standing in your power and being able to integrate your essence with how you show up with others, right? So often we can shift and change, and I mean in a way that isn't authentic. It is simply a survival mechanism. So we have the 5 of Wands, which is more about, there's a lot going on, but there's no momentum moving forwards, right? It's a bit of a dust up. It's conflict, but not that same kind of sharp edges. It's just kind of a bit frustrating, a bit chaotic, and it's in reverse. So in terms of the self, this feels like a lot of conflicting instinctive ideas, the work that Venus is doing with the North Node in Aries, fire energy, right, of your unconscious responses, that she's really helping clear that away so your perspectives are elevated. You see these mountains in the background where Venus is in Capricorn. There's a real sense of elevation, of getting out of the fray, out of the clutter, which is allowing you to embark on a new journey that's more in alignment with yourself. And that's the Fool. The Fool has left the village, left the elders, left everybody else's opinions and ideas, and gone out and explored the world from a very innocent, open space. Like the chest is leading the Fool, and obviously that's where the heart space is. And the Fool's about to leap off a cliff, and that could be deemed as like irrational and delusional, but it knows, like, the sun is beaming on its back. The sun is one of the biggest yes cards. It's such a supportive energy, and it's guiding the Fool forwards to take that leap. Take that leap and know that a new reality is going to appear. So great cards for the house of self, especially in regards to the other houses around value and relationship dynamics, how you work with people, unconscious responses and your perspectives. That's all showing up in these cards of how that's all coming into being. Now, how to work with this energy. We have the 2 of Pentacles and the 4 of Wands. So the 2 of Pentacles is about the capacity to keep on going, right? Keep juggling. Again, it's another infinity symbol. I usually call this the hamster on the wheel card, but I'm not getting that energy, and I always go with what's the first thing that comes into my head. And it's this sense of, even though this is a full moon, we're then working with this energy over the next 6 months of the awareness of the integration, right? Of the balancing of the old paradigms with the new, and getting them to work together, and figuring out what it is that you want to embody from the previous cycle in the new one, right? And really being able to elevate and what's coming to mind is the spiritual and the physical world together, and bring those together in your embodiment. But it is the two, so it's not like completion energy. It's this awareness of practice day to day of how do you want to embody what feels like a flow state, despite what might be going on around you, right? You've got 2 5s. They're both in reverse though, but I'm just feeling called of this, be observant of your actions and what follows from them. And if you're feeling in a state of conflict, just can't try and come back to a state of balance. If you're feeling quite overwhelmed about what might be going on around you, how others may be perceiving you, this is calling you to get back to yourself, right? And also do a little dance every day. I don't know where that came from, but so 4 of Wands. This is calling you to celebrate all the things that you're doing, because this is about milestones. It's kind of about big milestones, but whenever this card comes up for advice, it's like, celebrate the things that you put in the work and you've done the damn thing, right? Celebrate the little things. The more that we start celebrating even the most ridiculous tiny little things like brushing your teeth, it brings that energy more and more and more of, oh, everything in your life is a cause for celebration. This is about the harvest and all the work that goes into getting the harvest ready, and then they're all celebrating. So it's about putting in the work and then celebrating. But as advice, it's like be in observation of all the things that are worth celebrating in your life. Okay, so bottom of the deck is the Ace of Swords. So love this with the King of Swords, and again, all the swords that showed up in the collective reading of this is bringing in a perspective, divine inspiration, your inspiration that is linked into your sovereignty. We've also got the mountains there as well. There's a renewal of how you communicate and how you perceive the self. Now, what is going on with Uranus? So we have what they're wanting to do with these cards. So they're wanting the 3 of Swords this way and the 9 of Swords in reverse. And it's interesting you've got the 3 of Swords because this figure is carrying the 3 of Swords, and that's being released. That there is a process that's going to be following that Uranus is activating for you with Algol of a release of the 3 of Swords, but it's not quite upright, it's not quite reverse. This can mean 2 things. One, that it's internal and external, as well as it's neither quite reversed or upright. So this for me is about meditating in your physical body of where you might find that these 3 of Swords are, right? It's not just romance. It's about anything that's distorted your heart. And with the 9 of Swords in reverse, obviously in the upright, this is worry, anxiety, fear, but it's in reverse. So Uranus is really helping temper this 3 of Swords. But I feel like a meditative practice where you sort of have this in your mind, right? And call on Uranus, and then see what your senses, what your body is telling you. And then just do a practice of letting it come out and letting it move through you rather than suppressing it. But overall, this is genuinely a process of coming into peace and moving away from distortion. Now, Saturn. We have, this was the first card out, the 10 of Wands and the 6 of Swords. So the 10 of Wands is this awareness. Saturn can be very much the 10 of Wands, of like this burden of existence, of life. Of feeling alone, feeling not supported, can't enjoy the day, can't even see that it's a beautiful day, right? This weight this beast of burden energy, but it's come with the Six of Swords. And this is a sense of moving away from this energy, right? Now that it's gone direct, we're now then putting this Six of Swords into practice of you're in a transitory state. You are moving into a new landscape where things are calm, right? Where this energy isn't holding on to you. But with this, you've gone through a process of figuring out, okay, what perspectives are going to serve me in a landscape of thriving. And Saturn going direct is the implementation of that process. Remember, Uranus is still retrograde. I didn't mention that before. So I feel that's why this is these cards are sort of a little bit half and half right now, is because when Uranus goes direct, we're gonna feel the full weight of everything that we've transmuted in this journey. Right, so the oracle card from the Shaman's Dream is the Wailing Tree Reconciliations. Grief and mourning, a time of necessary losses, reconciliations. When you encounter the Wailing Tree on your path, it's an invitation to stay a while and regroup, a place for you to rest and allow yourself to say goodbye to what no longer serves you. You may have been overdoing things, working too hard, or putting too much effort into life with little reward. If you've been considering making a change, now is the time to do so. One important thing to consider before you make any changes is that you need to allow yourself to feel your disappointment, your loss, and mourn what was and what could not be. I mean, that's kind of tying in with that sort of practice that I suggested with the Uranian energy. This is a way to honor your experience. This really ties into the Scorpio new moon and a lot of the Scorpio work that we've been doing, where we've upgraded our timeline and now we're figuring out the tools that are part of this new elevated consciousness. And a lot of that has been a higher capacity to work with the shadow, to work with the difficult energies, the things we might hide from, the grief, the pain, the loss. And that all of that is part of the process, that we're now in a position where we're not getting knocked off our perch in the same way in regards to difficult situations. This is a way to honor your experience, to give yourself time to consider all the gifts in it, to put proper closure on it, to really know what you've learned as you've walked away from it and into something new. Hello, the Fool. Even in the perception of failure, there is much good to be discovered. However, skipping the stages of loss doesn't get you to reconciliation any faster. In fact, you will discover that you will have to come back at some point. So do it all now, look at it all squarely and honestly, and stay with your feelings. Life is not either or, it's both and, this and that. So, as you dive in and process this, allow it to become a temporary travel companion on your journey. The feelings that this will bring to the surface will be challenging for sure, yet like all things, they will pass soon enough and you will be more enriched by the experience. Now I'm going to look at what was the bottom of the deck for this one, and we have Eye of the Eagle rising above the fray. That's very, very the Aquarian energy of the King of Swords with that Ace of Swords. Protection, inherent trust rising above the fray. I talk about trust a lot in the collective reading. The Eyes of the Eagle offers you the gift of foresight, the skill of looking ahead, to see the unfolding of destiny before it all manifests as reality. The eagle's extraordinary vision allows it to spot the tiny mouse from its lofty perspective as it flies thousands of feet into the atmosphere. In a similar fashion, you too can train your keen eye to discern the workings of humans. Eyes of the Eagle is an invitation to witness the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, yet react to nothing. Act only to further your noblest calling. The eagle flies above all creatures when it meets obstacles. It simply rises above them. Know that you are protected. Sixes are very protected, where that's Six of Swords. You can fly high above the judgment slings and the arrows and the darts of envy from others who may not have your great wings and are still arguing with the pigeons over crumbs. This is reminding me, I had a channeled message come in after I did the collective reading, where the energies that channel were like, yeah, you got everything, but you missed this bit, that people are going to start getting more and more activations in terms of channeling, right? We're all channelers, we just all do it in different ways. But this may not apply to all of you or any of you. So always take what resonates, leave what doesn't. That there's going to be a certain level of activations that are pushing it more into the social sphere. Now this came in for the Libra and Aries eclipse cycle that we just had. So I'm not surprised with the Venus square. That there are going to be, it's going to be just a little bit more, how confident are you in your capacity to hold space for the weirdness of the channeling, right? And I say weirdness just because it's very I know what I do is weird. I know that I have to, there's certain ways to communicate what I do to people who have no idea what any of this stuff is about, right? And I'm always very, I made a vow to myself that I can't mask anymore. I masked my whole life. And with the movements that happened nearly 4 years ago, actually in Taurus season, and the vocal light language, which is nearly a year since that got activated, I have to be really upfront of what's going on. Like even in more situations where, you know, I just had to keep doing it. So, and it's difficult and it's hard, but it honestly, it grounds the hell out of you, and you kind of clear the clutter a lot with it. So there's something around people getting activated with stronger powers. I mean, it's a word, we know what we're talking about. Stronger powers that might be pushing the boundaries of how much they're comfortable in sharing that socially and being in that space socially, and trust in the process, if this is resonating with you, that this is part of the plan, right? And that we are getting a frequency come in that is helping facilitate that, where it's not going to cause situations that do us a disservice, right? It doesn't mean that there might not be some difficult situations, but they are always in acts of service for our soul. Or they like that one. Right, trust that you are ready for whatever fortune has placed before you, even if you feel not yet properly equipped to meet its challenges. Your willingness to say yes to spirit has nothing to do with how well outfitted you are. Hesitating, on the other hand, will suck the air from under your wings and make you lose altitude. You are being called now to trust your heart and your instincts, to move fearlessly and not waver. The time is right and no harm can come your way if your motives are pure and you act courageously. Beautiful energy. Right, now from Rainbow Brainskull, which is my latest oracle deck. It's an early Christmas present which turned up in time for the Scorpio readings, Scorpio new moon, and you know, death card is the Scorpio card, and this is pretty, the cards are pretty blunt, but I love the imagery, but in the book it's a little softer, which I feel is like the true Scorpio energy that may come across really brutal and blunt, but truly wants you to expand. Right, so every timeline exists. If you can imagine it, then it exists somewhere in space and time. Like a radio, your brain is a receiver of information. You can tune into any reality you choose if you are able to align with it. I feel like that's to do with that full energy of and the meditation of like, where there is heart pain, where you may still have the conflict energy around you or rising up within you, it is calling you to realign your antenna to pick up the frequency that serves this soul journey, right? And I feel like that Two of Pentacles is that kind of balancing act of getting into the embodiment of this, right? And it will help facilitate that, as well as, you know, focusing on the gratitude and the joy and the celebration, right? And that big time part of that. Oh my goodness, the card that was at the bottom of the deck is so on point to what we were just talking about. I'll be at the other end of the universe acting strange. If you are truly in your own lane, there is no competition, right? 5 of Swords, 5 of Wands, both about competition, both about interacting with other people in a non-collaborative way. Be an original Taurus. Go be at the other end of the universe acting strange, and bring that energy into your day-to-day, into your life, right? And just find ways of doing so in a safe way that feels good for you. And we know when we're pushing our boundaries, when we know it's the right thing. So always do what's in alignment with you. Taurus, I'm going to leave it at that. This is a wild moon. Love to hear from you about what happens over the full moon itself. Be good to yourselves, Taurus. Be good to those around you. Safe travels and be well until we meet again.